People often ask me why I created the Singer Style Lab. And the truth is, it began with a shy teenager who wrote songs she was too afraid to let anybody hear. Music was always where I felt most alive. I would spend hours at the piano, and between classical pieces, began writing songs, started telling stories, and dreamed about making people feel something, but almost nobody knew. I kept my songs hidden. But there was one exception. My best friend, Sean. He had a gift for songwriting. Sean believed in my music long before I believed it deserved to be heard. One afternoon, during a break in a recording session with our high school choir, he asked me to sing one of my songs. Without telling me, he had another friend unmute the recording console so our choir teacher could hear it. Well, that teacher happened to be a successful songwriter who had built an extraordinary career in the music industry. I never would have played my music for him myself. But Sean believed in me more than I believed in myself. And the next thing I know, I hear on the talkback mic, "Hey, Fosdal, that's pretty good. Got any more?" And that one moment changed my entire life. It eventually led to a scholarship that led me to a college, and that college led me down a career path that I never expected. But I was told that if I wanted to become a professional singer-songwriter, I first needed to study voice, and that meant classical voice. So I did. I worked incredibly hard. Well, I fell in love with the discipline part of it, and I became an opera singer. It wasn't that far off from what I had done with classical piano, so it made sense to me. I ended up performing as a soloist with members of the Chicago Symphony, and I traveled across Europe. There were some great experiences from it. From the outside, it looked like everything was going according to plan until I came home and recorded my own music. I remember pressing play, and I didn't recognize the artist coming through the speakers. The vibrato, the sound, the style. Technically, I had become a much better singer, but artistically, I had lost the voice that I had set out to develop. Now, I don't blame my teachers. They gave me extraordinary gifts, musicianship, discipline, craft. But the tools that helped me sing Mozart weren't the tools that I needed to tell my own story. And for a while, I nearly walked away from singing altogether. Instead, I started asking questions that would shape the next 30 years of my life. How do we develop extraordinary vocal technique without losing artistic authenticity? How do we build a healthy voice that still sounds modern? Well, those questions eventually led me to Jo Estel. She gave me a new way of thinking. And for the first time, I understood that technique wasn't the destination. Technique was the bridge between what a singer feels and what the audience experiences. And as my own voice changed, so did my teaching. Students began to find voices that they didn't know they had. Some went on to sing on Broadway. Some became Grammy nominees. Some found careers in voice acting. Some simply discovered the confidence to finally sing in front of another human being. But every one of those victories mattered. Well, years later, one of my students, Sean Royer, challenged me in a way that I'll never forget. Now, Sean had worked with artists I deeply respected. One day, he looked at me and he said, "You have to get this out of your studio and out where it can help more people just like you." So we began building what would eventually become the Singer Style Lab. Shortly after we launched the pilot program, in that first year, 2 people were offered the opportunity to become professional singers. I got my usual call from Sean on a Thursday morning, and we talked about the program, and then we talked about how he had just gotten COVID and how it had hit him really hard. I hung up the phone, and for some reason, my phone kept calling him back. And I told him, "Hey, if my phone calls you back, I'm just going to tell you, Sean, I love you." I'm glad that I responded that way because early Saturday morning, I got the message that Sean had unexpectedly passed away. Sean's encouragement to me became a responsibility that I knew I had to carry forward. Today, after decades of performing, teaching, researching, questioning, rebuilding, and learning, I've come to believe something very simple. Every singer deserves the freedom to express what lives deep within them through their own voice, not someone else's, their own. And technique isn't there to make us sound alike. Technique exists to remove the barriers between our hearts and our audiences. And every superpower we teach exists for one reason: to help singers connect the emotion that they carry inside with the voice that they're meant to share with the world. I'm also a parent, and I know how terrifying it can be to wonder whether you're making the right decisions for your child. Should you encourage them? Should you push? Should you wait? Should you invest? And I don't pretend to have every answer. I've made plenty of mistakes myself. But I know the power of one person believing in a young artist. I know because my friend Sean believed in me before I believed in myself. And looking back now, I realize he didn't simply change my future. He changed the futures of every student that I've taught ever since. And that's why the Singer Style Lab exists. Not simply to teach people how to sing, but to become the kind of place where young artists can discover what they're capable of, where confidence is built, authenticity is protected, and where community replaces comparison, where every singer is given the tools to tell the story that only they can tell. Because remarkable performers aren't remembered for having perfect voices. They're remembered because they make us feel something. And I believe every singer deserves the chance to do exactly that.